see, does it work?
Not yet, it hasn't.
It's like I won't be able to make it.
You want me to share the screen for you, but it might have some delays.
Yes, it's okay. Maybe you can help me to share the screen.
Okay.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, a minute. I get the video back. Can you guys see the screen? Yep. So
Yes.
yep. So make sure you can start with the pre-show notes, and then Andrew, please help with the translating, and Ross and Mandy, remember to change it to the interpretation in English so you can hear.
Thank you very much.
I have prepared in English.
Oh, really?
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nature. Andrew's having a quite light day of it yesterday, and we might have a light day of it today as well.
Yeah. So
but thank you for being here.
So Nature, you can start whenever you feel like.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello everyone, thank you for joining and supporting us on this audio description assessment. My name is Nature and I'm going to present an excerpt video for about 11 minutes from Diary of an Ugly Duckling by Factory Companion Tansa Driatica. Here is a brief introduction of the piece. Diary of an Ugly Duckling presents by Factory Companion Tansa Driatica. It's a dance theater collaborative production by director and writer Tonio Di Nitto and the performers Ilaria Carlucci, Fabio Tiniller, and Luca Pastore and Francesca Di Pascale. Throughout the whole performance, characters communicate with sounds like ba, 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 ah, but no verbal we could find. The Ugly Duckling is presented by Francesca Di Pascale. The character has black short hair in a white onesie tank top with shorts. A thick dark beige color band wraps around the lower rib cage. A duckling tail in light beige color in 3 dimensions fluffy papery style is secured above the hips. She wears glossy tights and ballet slippers. The forearms from the scapula to fingertips are uncovered. The 3 little ducklings are presented by Ilaria Carlucci, Fabio Tiniller, and Luca Pastore. They come in similar appearance with a slightly different height from the tiniest to the tallest, which the middle one has mustache, and the tallest one is the slenderest. All of them have black short hair covered in a darker beige color swimming cap. They wear a pale yellowish goggles in white onesie, tank top shorts, and a darker beige color band wraps around the lower rib cage. A duckling tail in a lighter cream color, formed a 3 dimensions fluffy papery style, is secured above the hips. Each of them wear a pair of almost knee-length socks and a pair of black fin wings extended out from the metatarsals. Stage set up in a simple format, a light transparent color. A light transparent cloth is hung in front of the whole backdrop to allow the light and image projection. Neither any specific set of props are used in this scene. Okay, we can start the video. First scene, Diary of an Ugly Duckling. Curtain slides open to the sides.
Shall I start now, the video?
Yes, please, thank you. Curtain slides open to the sides. On the backdrop, projected with white calligraphy in Italian words, means Diary of an Ugly Duckling. The camera zoomed in. There is a body facing its back to the audience, has black hair. And there are a total of 4 seated in similar position along the face in a horizontal line in 1 or 2 arms distance. Light gradually fades in and still quite dim. 3 of the ducklings from the left to right swaying their bodies side to side, while 1 in black hair in right stays still. They circle the chest and there is some energy extended to the shoulders, to the right and to the left. They sway the body side to side again. Shaking it up. This time, the energy is extending all the way to the right shoulder and the right elbow with the upper arm extended to the upper right space. Repeated to the left. They shift their weight forward and back. Shaking up their bodies. Energy extends all the way to the right foot. And now to the left. And then to the 2 feet. Lights gradually brighten according to the projection's transformation, as if the very early morning of the day. With an image of a pond, trees, grasses grow behind as projected. They're squeezing themselves together to the middle duckling by flipping their feet side to side, squeezing and rebouncing the arms into the space. They fall apart and start investigating themselves in the pond individually, tapping foot, waving arms, swimming across, diving in, rolling in and out. They form into a vertical line from the tiniest to the tallest, swim along the pond. Stop, which all more crashing, because they discover in the other end of the pond there is a duckling left alone. They're trying to get her attention by making noises on the water surface, by using feet to tap. Jump over the pit and trying to move close to the other duckling. They swim making noises and trying to get her attention. They swim next to her repeatedly, but she has no response.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Which?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Where were we? Would you mind to let me know?
Maybe a bit backward.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about it.
It's fine, it's fine.
Is it here?
Still a little bit backward.
Okay.
Oh.
Is it?
I need. Yeah.
Here?
Yes.
You ready? I'm sorry.
Okay, but I could not. You may not be able to see me because the iPad I'm using is out of battery, so I have to use my phone to read my script.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should I start?
Oh, 1 second.
Okay.
Because when I'm looking at on my phone, I cannot see the video. What can I do? Give me a few seconds.
No problem.
Nature, can you
Yes.
plug your iPad in?
Yes.
Well, why don't we just stop for a minute, because it's going to make it difficult for you, and it's really uncomfortable for you when it's difficult. Keep your iPad plugged in now, and we'll do you nearer the end, so it's had a chance to charge up.
Okay.
Because you'll probably find it a lot easier when you've got your iPad charged up, rather than fiddling about with your phone, and as you say, not being able to see the video as well. So let's pause for a moment.
I'm good now. Whether you want to push me to the back or I could.
You're good.
Just
you're good now. You're okay
where
now.
we were. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
You're happy, then I'm happy.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, I will start now. Are you ready? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You mute your mic.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I will start now.
Thank you. Therefore, they moved themselves, running right in front of her, call on her, spread around her, using their feet to tickle her. Swing their arm over her, patting her hat. She shivers and responds once. So they continue joining force to get her attention. Suddenly, the ugly duckling's voice scared the trio out. She stretches her long arms side to side, while the trio constantly looking at her. She inclines her body into the water surface without falling or sinking down, which the trio could hardly do it on their own. After a few yawns and stretches, she starts her day responding to the trio, performing her expertise to the trio, and they follow. She gets back on her own. The trio swim close, starts realizing this duckling is quite different to them from the appearance. They compare themselves to her from head to toes, moving her around, checking through the best encyclopedia they have, but could have no idea with the differences among them. She seems happy being with the trio. They start swimming together along the pond. And they were going to demonstrate the best twirling and spitting moves. This duckling doesn't do it the same way with the trio and fall into a pit, which fades into merely lighting in blue. The trio is so helpful, giving her a hand to sing with the lips, dominating flat voice. She sings with a thought to produce loud, sharp sound. They were thinking how to teach her to make the sound with the lips. They were going with the similarity and differences. They were proud of themselves and danced together, played together. They left her alone, ignoring her by playing tricks on her. leaving her alone. Light changes. She's fine with herself alone, dancing to the music, showing her best moves to the world at who she is. The movements are dominating from the upper body and her arms. Light fades out. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you actually doing that, Nature? Were you doing it from your phone, or were you doing it from, did you manage to get your iPad to kick in again? Were you able to see the video? Sorry, you're muted at the moment.
Yeah, I could see the video.
You could see the video
on my phone. Yeah, and reading my script on the iPad.
Okay, so you had everything going good. Now, yes. I'm not going to say anything at the moment because I want other people to come in, ask any questions that you need to from Nature to find out how she started that, how she worked on that. There is silence.
Should I tell?
Nobody's coming in, are they? Okay, you just tell us how you started this. What you were looking at, what were you looking for?
Actually, I do it by playing the video and pausing it to write what I could see. And maybe for 3 minutes. And then I go back because I will fit 3 minutes and I observe the presentation on Wednesday. And then, I realized I may have to go back and try to read it out to see if it works. And I found I put too much words and I couldn't finish what I'm going to, yeah. So I just chop them out. And then I continue to finish the whole video, like 11 minutes. And then try to keep my words short. And then I go back to the very beginning and to keep trimming the words off and just make it like very short and simple.
I think, because nobody's come in yet, I think I need to say something. Like, I had the feeling that might be what you've done, because unfortunately what you did was you lost some of the description. I didn't know what was happening. Because you were saying things like she performs her expertise and they follow. What is it she's actually doing? How is she? You're sort of telling me what she does, but you're not telling me how you know. You understand what I mean? So you've said things like they talk about their the force in their arms. The force extends through their arms, or the force extends through their legs. But I didn't know that they were lifting their feet up. I didn't know they were lifting up 1 foot at a time and shaking their foot. And I didn't know that both feet came up. I had what I had was a kind of an overall idea that there was movement going on, but I was thinking, but what was it like? What does it look like? So I think that's where it's quite difficult to. You said that she's swaying their arm over her, and I think there were times when you didn't quite get the story, particularly when they're on the riverbank. When they're on the riverbank, they all come out of their eggs and they all waddle over to the riverbank, and then they sort of go, oh, you go first, no, you go first. And eventually one of them gets sort of pushed into the water. And you get that because of that sort of rather twinkling sound. Every time they go into the water, there's a twinkly music. And then when you say that she falls into a pit, and you can hear the splash. You actually, if you listen, you can hear a splash. And that's when the light turns blue and she's under the water, because they've all got into the water and they're all happy because they can move in the water. This is the first time she's been in the water, and you hear a kind of splash. So you need to listen to the sounds because they help you tell the story. They're sort of, at the beginning, they're kind of thinking about themselves, and then they suddenly notice her and she's still in her egg. And that's why they're patting their hands above her head, because they're sort of patting the egg and they're pushing the egg with their feet, and she's inside the egg. And then she comes out, and then they go, oh, she's a bit strange. She's not a bit like us. You understand what I mean? When you watch it again, look for that. Look for listen for the sounds which tell you about water, because there is water there. Look for the light of this kind of ripply blue, which tells you the story about being in the water. And then look for the kind of movements that they're making, because it's the movements that they're making that needs to be described, rather than what they're trying to do. So they're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to frighten her. You didn't say that, but if you were going to say they tried to frighten her, what are they doing to frighten her? You know, are they jumping out at somebody, or are they, you know, running up behind her and banging her in the back? What is it that they're actually doing? And I think that's what you've stripped out. You've stripping out, you know, trying to bring it down and down and down. You've stripped out the description and just left the explanation. You understand what I mean?
Yep.
What else do we have? We have yeah, we have, she doesn't do it in the same way. She falls into a pit, and there was a splash really when she fell then. They play tricks on her. What are they doing? You know, I want to get an idea, because I mean, if I'm sitting in the theatre and I'm blind and I go, they're playing tricks on her, I want to know what they're doing. I really want to know what they're doing, because everybody else can see that. They're seeing what they're doing. They may be laughing because they're doing funny things, or they may be going, oh, because they're doing mean things. She's showing her best moves to the world, but I'd like to know what those are, because if they're really good moves, I want to know what they are. So what I'd like to do is see your first script. Really, I'd like to, I wonder if you can send me your first script, so that with everything that you took out, so I can go, oh yes, she's got this, but you took it out because you were afraid you wouldn't be able to say it in time. Last night I was looking at a piece of work that somebody had sent me for editing, and it was a film about Charlie Chaplin, and she wanted to put so much information in that she would have been talking very, 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 very fast, and nobody really would have understood. So I was asking her to take a few things out to make it a little bit shorter. But what I asked her to leave in were the things that described what he was doing, what his face was doing, what his body was doing, what he looked like, all of those things that tell the story. And when you've got sounds, you need to stay out of the way. So if you sort of say that she makes a sound, ba, let's hear her make the sound. We can, as long as you've told us that it's her that's making the sound, let's hear her make the sound. So we can hear them making these sort of noises. And then she does something very different, ba. And then they do it later on to her. They go, oh, ba, ba, ba. And she thinks, oh, right, they're friends now because they're making the same sound as I am. And then they use that, they hold her hands and they push her in the water. They're really nasty, these ducks. So it's making sure that you're not just telling them what they're meaning to do, but telling them how they're doing it. And I think that's the things that you've taken out, rather than and you're just saying, well, they're all very happy. How do you know? By looking at them. How do you know they're happy? Or they're very angry with somebody. How do you know? That's what makes audio description, really. Not telling a story, but telling them how they're doing it. I have a comment from Didi. Didi said, to me, there is something unexpected happening on stage. Can you expand that for us, please, Didi? Oh, difficult sound. Your sound's a bit muffled. Okay. Right.
Because I see that Karen is competent to deliver the script. So
I'm really sorry, Didi. The sound is so bad we can't understand what you're saying. Could you share it with us in the chat, please? We're getting a lot of distortion from where you are. You wouldn't mind sharing it in the chat. Looks like you're walking down a corridor. Is anybody else getting it more clearly than I am?
No, Didi
No.
sound, your microphone seems to be, you are like talking under the water.
Yes, exactly, yes. She is the duckling. Nature, did you write your script in English or in Chinese?
English.
English. So you would be able to send it to me, perhaps, so I can have a look at what your first script was. Yeah, your timing was good. Your timing was good, you know, and you did sound engaged. You sounded interested in what you were saying. So we just need to get that descriptive part of it, the actual description. And I'd say, if you have to take everything out, leave the description in, because that tells. I mean, I can read a story at home and I can get a very good idea, but when I'm in the theatre and something is happening in front of me, I really want to know how it's done, what it feels like. I can tell Karen hesitates to read her scripts from her voice. Yeah. So yep. I heard lots of different sounds, even when the ugly duckling was still in the egg, and I wanted to know what was going on. This is from Didi, I think. I'm going to just wind this back. Yeah. Yes, it seems to me that something unexpected was happening on stage. I heard lots of different sounds, even when the ugly duckling was still in the egg, and I wanted to know what was going on. She says, be confident, be confident. So one of the things about reading a script really is making sure that it's set out so that you know exactly where you are at any one point in time. And one of the things that I always do is to write in when there are sounds, so I know when not to speak, so that the sounds will be free to come through. And I think that's something that we all do it very slightly differently. Sometimes I will do count 3 before I say that. So I'll go say a word and then count 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll say the next bit, because that's the chance for them to hear a sound. Mandy, you've got your mic open. Are you wanting to come in here?
That was my comment earlier. I don't know why it didn't have my name on it. That was all. I was the one that said I could hear lots of sounds going on, even when she was in the egg and that. But I, you know, so I was curious to know what exactly was going on. You know, they did some footwork with their flippers and stamping up and down and things. So I would have wanted to go, oh, how are they doing that? What are they, especially my section was later. This is the beginning section. So using those flippers and stamping up and down and whatever, that was the first introduction we had to that. So I would have liked to have known how they were creating those sounds or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we know we've got the intro notes that have that have introduced them and said that they've got flippers on, but I think they use them in very different ways. Really, sometimes they're going in a line, and then sometimes they're dancing around her. They were dancing around the egg, and it was a very kind of, it was like a war dance really around the egg. And it was, the knees were high and they were stamping with their feet. So it was quite a sort of quite aggressive in a way. Sometimes a dance with like that could be a bit playful, like when later on when they do the little penguin dance, and they've got their wings by their side and they've got their feet very close to the ground. And sometimes they're sort of almost skipping around her. And that we need to know the differences, the different energy and what it does to the body. Saying that something, there is an energy, it's not telling me quite clearly enough what that energy is doing to the body. So I need to know that. And you say light, when you say light changes, remember what we're saying about how important light is to telling the story. With something like this, it's very important. There's a factory scene and the light is very harsh and it flashes from one color to another. It's quite overwhelming to have that kind of light and sound, and she can't cope with it. And because we've got the Swan Lake theme coming in when she's on her own, then you know, we're always in the same lighting state. And if you can tell them what the lighting state is at the beginning, that it's this sort of deep blue, calming blue, then every time that sound comes in, you can come back to this deep calming blue, and you've got this repeated picture that you're always stressing as it happens. I don't know if anybody realizes actually that when they've got the balloons out, they're singing happy birthday to her.
Yeah.
If that's not a tune, yeah, that may be a tune that you're familiar with. It may not be. But they're actually singing happy birthday to her. So she's all thinking, oh,
I think so, but I was like, yeah? Maybe I'm mistaken it, so I just
trust
give it.
yourself. Trust yourself. That is happy birthday.
I just have no idea. Oh, why could I hear like happy birthday with something like that? So I just ignore it.
Yeah, well, it is because they've got the balloons out. They've all got balloons. It's almost as if they're giving her a birthday party for coming out of the egg. She's come out of the egg, so it's almost like they're giving her a birthday party for coming out of the egg.
I see.
This is why I think it's so important when you're doing a piece of dance to have somebody else to talk to. It's sometimes you don't trust yourself for what you see and what you hear, and to have somebody else to talk to about it is really quite useful. I mean, with this, really, it is, we needed to do things on our own because we needed to try things out for the first time. And when I've got two people working together, it's sometimes very difficult to tell who's done what. And there's sometimes one partner that doesn't contribute very much and one of them contributes a lot. It's quite difficult to split them up. So when you're doing this sort of thing, we need to do things on our own. But when you go out into the world and you're starting to do your audio description, to have another eye on this, even if you just share the video with somebody and say, you know, am I hearing happy birthday there? And they go, oh, yeah, and you got the balloons and everything. And that's the way they sort of get her confidence, because she thinks they're being nice. And then they do the bar, 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 and then they throw her in the water. You know, you think they're being nice. And it's like, there's another thing when, at the end of the school section, they go and pat her and they go and hug her and, oh dear, dear, poor thing, poor you. And every time they're doing it, they're putting a post-it note on, little sticky note on. And they're not really being nice, but she doesn't realize. So that's sort of the first time that you realize that these are not very nice ducks. So, could you possibly show me your script, send me your script, the one that you before you throw everything out, so that I can see that you pick things up. And I think it's the storytelling that you also need to look at and go, what does that mean? What is actually happening there? What is really happening there? And to say the light can help you, and sometimes the sound can help you. And when you've got that piece by the water, all those sploshy sounds, because you were describing over them, you didn't hear them. And we didn't hear them either. So when she's thrown in the water and she sort of ducks down and you hear the splosh, because you speak over them, I don't hear them either. And so they're not giving me any clues. And for somebody who's visually impaired, what they hear is so important. There are times when you have to explain a sound. There's a particular thing that people do if they want to say that somebody's broken a bone, and they get a piece of bubble wrap and they twist it. And I was doing a show, and somebody had somebody's fingers, and they were bending their fingers back, and they and suddenly you got this sort of cracking sound as the bubble wrap was twisted, because they'd broken their fingers. And because of that, I had to say that he's got hold of his hand and he's bent the fingers back. And then you hear snap, because otherwise it sounds like bubble wrap being twisted. And until you give it the context, until you say, this is what he's doing, then they will believe the sound. I was walking with a friend in one of the parks, blind friend in one of the parks, and we had horses. There were 2 horses. And he said, what's that sound? I said, it's horses. I thought, oh, I couldn't believe that he didn't understand it was horses. But because there were 2 of them and they weren't going clip clop, all of the sounds were all mixed up together. He couldn't quite work out what it was. Sound is incredibly important to somebody with a visual impairment. They will often use it to find their way around, because they will hear different sounds no matter where they are. I have a friend who recorded her journey home for me once, and she uses a cane, a white cane, and she got off the train, and she lives very close to the station, but she was telling me, she was sort of narrating this, and all the way through she was saying, I'm tapping a lamppost and I know where I am now. Oh, now I'm going over a piece of grating, and I can feel, because she's moving her cane around. She said, oh, I can feel, because that's that grating, and I know then I've got just a few steps to go to my front door. So she was using the sounds to learn about her environment, and that is something that anybody with a visual impairment, they haven't got super hearing. Doesn't mean they've got super hearing. It means they use the senses in a different way. And to be able to locate yourself in an area, they can, sometimes if I'm doing training in a room, I won't tell my blind trainer colleague what the room is like, and I will say to them, what do you think this room is like? And then they will describe it in terms of sound and their feeling of cold and warm and distance. And maybe if they've got some sight, they will say there's a light source. I don't know what it is, but there's a light source coming from my left. And then I will get the class to describe the room to them and describe the things that they've missed. But I think it's very useful to know that a blind person can get some information from their environment, but they will not get detailed information. And those people who were sitting in the audience when you were describing they will get some information, because they will be able to hear the sound of the flippers on the floor, and they will hear there's a and the ba, and they will hear where people are on the stage, and they will hear the sound effects and the music. But that's only part of the information. It's like being in a room and not knowing where the door is. It's like being in a room and not knowing what color the walls are, or what the furniture is like, or whether there are pictures on the wall, because you can't tell that by listening. And when you're in the theatre, you cannot tell what's happening on stage just by listening. They need you. They really need you to be very clear about what people are doing, and how they're dancing, where the energy is leading them, what their faces are saying. And if they don't get that, then they're in a room with no pictures, and they're in a room with no furniture, and then they're in a room where the colours of the walls are beige. They don't know what they're like. So you put the colour in, you decorate that room, and then they can be in it, and they can participate fully. Okay, now we're at 10:49. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. Thank you very much for that. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do another one. And then I'm going to show you a bit of a film that we referred to earlier on. So let's have 10 minutes, okay? And I'll see you soon.
Hello, Andrew. Oops, I have to change to the interpretation one. Yeah, I can hear you now. Oh, you might you mute your mic.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm here. Yes.
Later will be
Karen. Hi, 我知. Yeah.
Later will be Karen. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's the same. Like she will start with her personal notes and then the clip.
Yeah. I've got that one. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very clear. Very clear. Yes.
我會試埋 share screen 啊，你哋唔使理我㗎。係，我想一陣試咗先，唔該你啊。
Okay.
Hello， 你哋聽唔聽到我講嘢啊？
睇到啊，個 screen 冇問題啊 ，Karen。
聽到啊，聽到啊。
哦，我想同阿 Karen 講咧，陣間 Yes。
係咪聽到啊都？
聽到。
好大聲啊！嗰個背景聲可唔可以細啲？
背景聲即係我而家嘅。
即係個 video 唔係 video。
video 嘅聲。哦，等一下。咁樣會唔會好啲？
你講多幾句睇下會唔會個音樂冚到你把聲
？1、2、3 testing， 1、2、3。
OK， 好清楚。Yeah。
1、2、3 testing， 1、2。
OK 啊。
背景都可以，我覺得個背景可以細多10個 dB 都得。
咁樣 testing
係啦，咁得㗎啦，咁得係，因為主要聽你把聲。
好，知道，唔該晒。好，咁我 stop share 翻先。好，唔該晒，一陣見。
我想話咧，Hello Karen，Hello。
佢可能冇教到 interpretation， 我一陣間話俾佢聽，你講啊，你講。
我想話咧，咁當佢讀個 description， 即係個 play 未開始嘅時候咧，佢可唔可以讀一句停，即係1、2句就停一停，咁我就 otherwise 我哋一齊講嘢咧，好似好怪咁。
好啊，
你覺得點啊？係啦。
可以啊，我叫佢。
你再講多次啊，唔好意思。
Karen 啊，頭先 Andrew 話你可唔可以好似上次 Yumi 咁樣，可能講 pre-show note 嘅時候講一句停一停，等 Andrew translate 咗，然後你再下一句咁樣，可能停5秒咁樣，等佢 translate 咗嘢。
少係咪啊？句與句。
係啦，有少少停頓，係。
咁但係個片裏邊我就
片唔係片，
片就係
開頭嗰段嘢。
好啊。
因為開頭冇時限㗎嘛，你唔使趕住㗎嘛，你可以係啦，咁佢就會可以聽
成個過程，然後中間個 pause 又長多啲咁樣啊。
唔係你總之你每講完1句或者2句，你停一停，俾我譯一做英文咁樣咯。OK。
好啊，唔該。
Thank you。
Andrew, are you okay for the next session? I think you're going to be interpreting. All right, Karen, you ready?
Yes.
Charged up?
Yes. And they finally finished.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Oh, thank God.
Has it been going on all morning?
No, they just start afternoon after lunch. Because maybe this Saturday, maybe the working time is a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that they still like that.
No.
It's been like 2 weeks already.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Have they sent anything to apologise down to you?
Not really. Not really.
We've got lovely neighbours on both sides, and every time they have work done, they bring a cake or something round, you know, just to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's nice. But in Hong Kong, well, you know, everything's packed, very close, very crowded. So it happens all the time.
I was hoping to be over there in the room with you, because we did the work with Mandy and Kate. Well, we started in November, and originally Lena said, oh well, do you want to come over in March? Yes, please, you know. So I'd love to have done, but because it's so much easier when you're there.
Yes,
it's so much easier. You know, it's these little sections that you're doing at the end of a long day. It's hard to take it on, but remember, this is just the beginning.
Right.
Because Didi will take it from here, and we've started, but Didi will take it on from here.
Okay.
So it's just the beginning. I must remind people of that. But you know, you're not expected to be perfect at this stage. Nobody ever is, ever is. Nobody's perfect, ever.
So, Karen, are you ready?
Yes.
So, Andrew, please start with the translation, and Ross and Mandy, remember to change the interpretation to English.
Yes. So you can hear me, right?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, good.
Okay.
I'm going to duck out.
Welcome to this show that is co-organized by the Hong Kong Art Festival and the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charity Trust, and then the strategic partners of the HKADA and Limitless Program by Drama Factory, and the name of the play is Diary of the Little Duckling, the Ugly Duckling. I'm your oral describer, Karen. Director and screenwriter, Tonio Di Nito. Choreographer, Anna Maria Di Filippi. The actors, Francesca Di Piscari acting as the Ugly Duckling, Ilolina Carucci, Fabio Tenora, Luca Pastore. The three acting as the three ducks, the three ducklings. The Drama Factory is founded by the three artists, Tonio Di Nito, Paula, Leonie, and Fabio in 2010. Ever since 2016, they have been trying to put on multi faces plays, and then including incorporating actors or actresses who are handicapped, and their productions include Diary of the Ugly Duckling. This play has been awarded in the Montenegro, the 25th Children Drama Festival. And then the Pastore has won a Outstanding Performance Award. He has also won an award in the 24th International Children and Youth drama festival in Iran, and also won the best performance, best music, best stage design, best screen writing, best director. Whereas Luca won as the best male actor, and the actress Francesca won a special award. The Diary of the Ugly Duckling was adapted from Andersen's very famous fairy tale. It is about the growing process of a small swan. Ever since when she was young, she was expelled by the companions. When she was in school, she was bullied. And then when she went to work, what happened to her? And an unexpected love affair. There will be 4 actors on the stage. 2 male and a woman will play the ducklings. The woman duckling is tall and slender. She's the tallest among the 4. One of the male actor playing the duckling, he's a little bit short. The other one has mustache. All 3 of them will wear brown color headgear on their head. And then they will have a white framed goggles on their face. And then on their body will be a white color clothing, and then the shorts. And then at the backs, at the bottoms, there will be decorations making of cloth like origami, and then simulating the bottom of ducks. And then on their shoes, they're wearing flippers. And the other actress is acting as the ugly duckling. Her clothing are roughly the same as the other 3. It's only that she's not wearing any headgear or goggles. She's not wearing any flippers. Rather, she's wearing a light pink color ballet shoes. And there are no other decorations on the stage. There's only a huge white backdrop, and with changing images on that. The whole show will be around 46 minutes. And then this one scene is in the classroom. The 3 ducks will put off their headgears, and then the duckling, and then they were all wearing school uniforms. They have quite round collars, and then there will be a body in the middle, and then there will be little desk made up of paper cartons. And then the clothing of the ugly ducklings will be the same. It's only that she will be coming out with her hands holding the foldable desk. All right, that's the pre-show note.
Okay, now I'm going to share the screen. Okay, let me get back a little bit. Okay, I'm ready.
Yep. The ugly duckling used her right hand to cover her ears, and then the face closing to the right hand, and then she's searching around on both sides, and she's showing as in the image of a swan, and both her hands are covering up her face. And then she's rubbing her face. And then she's extending her left arm. And 嗰個係啊，個畫面冇喐到啊！我哋睇到係 it's not moving.
No, I'm afraid I'm the same.
Yeah, it's not moving.
Okay.
It's frozen there.
Let me share again. 我試下嚇，而家 test 下。而家 O 唔 OK 啊？係咪喐緊啊
？Actually, I don't see anything on this.
We can't see anything.
我 share 咗咯。打緊圈啊！哦，咦？係全部都睇唔到啊
？I can't see anything.
睇唔到，睇唔到。你會唔會想我 share 個 screen？
好啊，好啊，好啊。OK。頭先喺邊度停咗啊？講到
其實一開始
rubbing her face。
開頭 preset 嗰時係喐嘅個畫面，但係你一開始講就講到佢個頭貼住個
右手係啦。
嗰個畫面就 freeze 咗啦。OK， 哦，咁你開始嘅，我可唔可以成段再講一次啊？可以啊，我覺得係啊。好，唔該晒，唔該晒。大約11分25俾我啊，唔該你。係啊，係呢度得啦，唔該。我 ready 嘅啦，唔該你。丑小鴨左手掩住耳。
Early duckling uses her hand to cover up her ear and raise her left hand and closing her eyes. And she lowered both of her arms. Again, she raised her left arm to rub her face. And then cover up her face. And then using a eye spectacle shape to look out. And then to rub her face. And then raise her left arm. And then she's rubbing her face again. And then again use the spectacle shape to cover up her eyes. And she's moving her body left to the left, to the right, to the left and to the right. And then she lowered her arms. And then the lights dimmed. And then there is a wording on the screen saying, "My first school day." And then 3 ducks would come out, and they're holding desk in the shape of a paper cutter. And then they were stamping the ground on the stage. So I cannot hear. Karen, 我聽唔到 Karen. I'm sorry. Karen, I cannot hear you.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Karen. 係啊，但係頭先而家得啦，而家得啦。
試一試音先啦，就咁放出嚟啊 ！Karen 求其噏幾句。
好 ，testing。係，繼續。OK， 繼續。前翻少少得唔得啊？好啊，呢度啊，唔該，得呢度唔該。Vivian 再撳細聲啲嗰個 video 啊，唔該晒。再擺曲。
And then they were shaking. And then Ugly Duckling, her both hands holding the desk, and she's coming out. And then the 3 ducks came together. And then together they try to block the way. And then they're facing the ugly duckling. And then she put down her desk, and then the 3 ducks at the back of the ugly duckling. And then in the middle is the duck with the mustache. And then they together put the foldable desk onto the front and open it. And then ugly duckling takes out a pen and start to write. And then the 3 ducklings quietly they move to one side. And then when the ugly duckling turned around to look. And then when she was looking, they moved to the other side, to the right hand side. And then when little duckling take a look. Karen, I think you need to look at the Karen, either you use the Karen， 你一係就用 microphone， 你一係咧就對住Karen。
Andrew, you can't hear Karen again?
Yes， 嗱，佢一係就咁樣，佢一係就用 no Karen， 你一係就用 microphone 嚟，嗱，佢一係就用 microphone 嚟讀，一係咧佢就對住電腦嚟讀，佢讀下咧佢塊面側咗望住個 screen 咧，我乜嘢都聽唔到啊！真係。
Andrew said that Andrew 話因為 Karen 你擰過去嗰邊嘅時候個咪完全收唔到，所以佢哋聽唔清楚你講咩，就好似
當佢睇 script 個面擰去一邊嘅時候，我乜嘢都聽唔到啊！
我而家試下戴個 headphone 好冇
？Yeah， 唔係你戴完 headphone 之後咧，你個咪擺喺個口度，我就會聽到噶啦。OK。
好，testing。
Yeah。
而家好唔好啲
？Yeah， 好啲。Yes。
testing， 而家好唔好啲？
係。
testing 1 2。
因為頭先咧，你頭先你一擰轉面咧，就聽唔到啊，係。聽到。
聽到清晰。
好，清晰係咪？咁我而家用 headphone 再講啊。
OK。
我呢個位 O 唔 OK？ 定你想再前少少？
可以。
呢個位 OK？
喺呢個位 OK， 隨時嚟啊，唔該你。
OK。
胡鬚小鴨喺袋裏邊。
The duck with a mustache takes out a paper ball from his pocket. He asked the other duckling to be quiet, and then he kissed the ball, and then threw it towards the ugly duckling. The ugly duckling turned around to take a look, and then they pretended that nothing had happened. And then the left-hand side, the woman duck, after shaking her arms, and then throw the ball onto ugly duckling. And then she points at the duck with the mustache. And then the woman duck throws the ball to the duck in the middle. And then the other duck starts to juggle the balls, and then to throw all the balls onto ugly duckling. The mustache duck stands up, using the 2 paper balls to make a magic show. And then the ball at his left hand disappears. And then he takes out a ball full of his saliva. Oh, that's stinky. And then they throw the balls onto ugly duckling in the middle. and then Ugly Duckling cover her face and lower her face to the desk. And then the duck is holding up a big ball. And then the lights turns to yellow. And then the lights come back. And then the teacher's asking questions. And then they're raising their hands to try to answer. And then she can't. And then she's using her both hands to cover up her head. And then it's all quiet. Ugly Duckling. The three ducks slowly stand up. And they are getting a pack of a Post-it. And then they're trying to comfort Ugly Duckling. Actually, they just try to put the sticky to her body just to make fun of her. And then they stick one after another. And then her body is just full of the Post-it. And then they're still continuing. And more. After that, the three ducks, they hold their desk. And then they're kicking the huge ball. And then they're leaving. Ugly Duckling, her left arm, her right arm, and then the other arm raising up, and then she's closing her eyes, and then she's lowering her hands, and then she's back to the formal gesture, and then the Post-it are falling down as she's moving around. And then she starts to turn her body. And then her arms are moving back and forth. And then she's moving around and turning around. And then she's spreading her arms. And then she's shaking off all the Post-its on her body. And then she's one after another, she's using her arms to show the mouth of a swan, and then she's turning around slowly, and then the lights dim. Slowly, the Ugly Duckling picks up her desk, and then it's all dark.
And we're back in the room. Thank you. Sorry about that tech. It's very, just remember that this isn't the only time this will happen. There are times when you're in the theatre, and you know, Dee Dee will tell you that there are times in the theatre where you will have problems. There are times that you will find that the mic is not working properly. You've done all your checks and then something happens. I did a whole show where I could hear my voice in my head, so I thought I was going out, and I wasn't going out at all. And nobody came and told me. So I did the whole show and they didn't get anything. But nobody bothered to come and tell me. So nobody technical came to see what the problem was. It wasn't in fact a problem with my sound desk. It was a problem further on down the line. So there's nothing I could have done about it, but it would have been nice to know. So you battled through, well done. Okay, right, I'm going to throw it open to the rest of you. And for you, Karen, to talk about why you made the decisions that you did make.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Why you made the decisions about what you was, I'll just go, yeah. Why did you make the decisions that you made how did you decide what to describe?
I based on what they move. What's the meaning of the move? When they approach to the front, what's the meaning? They curious, or they judging, or they try to bully the ugly duckling. I will start from this point, and then some of it may be too complicated. Maybe 3 of them have different movement. I just combine what's the meaning of the movement.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you what clues did you use to decide what they were doing, what they were meaning to do? What were you looking at them? How were they telling you?
From their body gesture, even the ugly duckling dancing, well, what she means for the dance. Maybe she can feel some of the swan elements inside her body will make her peaceful or make her happy. So the swan gesture appear, including the eyes, the lash, something like that. Or the second time when she dance again, appear a little bit more like the swan mouth. Yes. So this kind of meaning make me combine it and clarify it. I was struggling. I was struggling about how should I present the meaning or just present what I see. And then I choose, and then this time I choose what I see and a little bit meaning of that. Just describe all the movement first.
That's a good balance. I think that's a good balance. You've got to say what you see, because if you tell them what you see in the right way, then they will understand, and you may not have to say they mean this. So for example, you had them, they were all crowding round her at one point, and their faces were sort of distorted and screwed up, and they just looked so ugly and mean. And the music there then became very dramatic. There was the music there was rather aggressive and strident and dramatic. And when you combine that sound of the music and you combined a description of what the faces were like, they were really getting up inside her face. You know, they were really cramming into her. And if you get there, you know, where they are in position to her, if they're behind her, she's threatened by them because she doesn't know what they're doing. And if they're really sort of right in her face and their faces are screwed up, it's frightening for her. So if you tell them what they're doing, then they will reach the conclusion that you want them to. You don't have to say, and they're being mean, because the music tells you, and how close they are tells you, and the facial expression tells you that they didn't mean her any good at that point. Thank you for both you and Nature for the notes, which were very full. I don't know, it depends very much about what the client wants. I don't need to know everything about the background of the theatre company as somebody sitting in the audience, if it means I get less of a description of the characters. But when you are writing a description for a video, then there are cards that you saw at the beginning and cards that you saw at the end, which you have to read out. The sooner you can get into the information about what they're going to experience, the better it is. So try to know, just we need to know who these people are. We need to know about the companies there. We don't need to know necessarily the back history of the company. You have to use your judgment about this. How long have I got? Have I only got 5 minutes to do this? Have I got 10 minutes to do this? Because it's only the second scene, I think we need to remind them that we go to blue when Swan Lake music is on and when she's doing her dance. I think we still need to remind them. As things go along, they will realise that every time we go to blue and that Swan Lake music is on, they're going to go through the same thing. In which case, gradually, as you go along, you may want to do a little bit less. So if you start out by describing the whole thing and then go into the next one and describe just a little bit less of it, and then as you go along, you can just go, oh yeah, just refer back to the fact that they're doing that. But you were right to do the whole thing at that particular point, because you, as far as you were concerned, that was all they had, just that scene. Anybody else that wanted to come in? I said I wouldn't come in, now I have. Lena.
Yes. First of all, I must congratulate Karen for her first AD, but being so attractive as a listener. There are a couple of points. I have some questions. For that part, you described the super big paper board. Yeah, you use the word super big, but how big is super big? I think for VI, they need a more concrete description. For example, you say a super big board of, say, 3 human heads size, for example. And left and right. There is a part you describe, ugly duckling used her left hand to cover her ears, but actually she used her right hand. That's her right hand, but only on the left visually.
I did ask about this question about our right left, stage right left, or audience right left. And
remember, it was body right left. Body, when we talked about the body being right left, the right way round.
I'm confused.
Do you remember? Yeah, do you remember? I'll just, because not everybody was involved in this conversation.
Okay.
We talked about, when you're talking about the left and the right, we talk about it from the audience left and right. But when we're talking about somebody's body, we will say that he holds it in his right hand, because that means that the visually impaired person can imagine holding something in their right hand. If you say it to their left hand, then they're the wrong way around. So as far as the body is concerned, it's left and right, the same as your left and right. But when it comes to moving around the space, if somebody goes out to the left, it's the audience's left, not stage left. Is that clearer?
Yeah. I got it. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Ross.
You're welcome, because my student did the same, have the same mistake all the time. 因為佢嘅左手，即係如果咁樣，因為頭先個畫面係咁噶嘛，咁你就話佢嘅左手，咁其實係佢，即係唔係佢嘅左手嘛。好，
明白。
There is a point I want to ask the opinion of Ross. Ross, you wasn't able to listen to Karen's delivery directly, but I heard there are little sound, background sound. You can still hear her voice.
I'm afraid I didn't get anything of Karen in this case.
Nothing. Oh,
nothing
really?
at all. I couldn't hear it at all.
That's a pity.
No, because earlier I could hear that sort of underlying sound.
Yeah.
This time I didn't hear her at all. I'm sorry, so I can't really mention anything about your delivery. So I think you're going to have to leave your, have your colleagues talk about your delivery. I mean, I heard the delivery of the introductory notes, and that was fine. But then gradually it just sort of slid away. I'm sorry.
Then maybe Didi or other audience can address this question. This is actually a question. I'm not making any comment because I'm not an expert in performing arts AD. I quite enjoy Karen's always follow the flow or the character or the mood of the play or the dance. But I have a question whether sometimes it's becoming over dramatic.
It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line to go. We call it scene sympathy. And scene sympathy means that your delivery is in sympathy with the scene. So that if the scene is very aggressive, you just put a little bit into your voice that's a little bit harder. And if the scene is very romantic, then you would just soften it a bit. But you're not another character. You're not an actor. And those people who I train who are actors usually have to sort of pull it back a little bit because they want to perform, because that's their natural thing, is to perform a script. And we don't want them to perform a script because we don't want the audio description to be the only thing people pay attention to. We want them to be able to pay attention to everything else as well. And if you're coming in and very jolly and, you know, really, then it gets in the way of the understanding. And it's very fine, because there are some describers that I hear and I'm thinking, you're not helping me understand, because it's very, very on one level. And then I hear other describers and they will drop their voice at the end of a sentence. So you always lose the last couple of words. And I will hear others who will always go up at the end of a sentence, and it always sounds like they're making a question. So in Chinese, you need to find the way that you can be in sympathy with the scene without getting in the way of it and without acting. Does that answer your question, Lena?
Yeah, I'm just
You know
clarifying.
when it's wrong. You know when it's wrong. When you listen to something, you know when it's a bit too much. And again, it's very useful to have somebody listening into you for the first few times you do it, so that they can say, just pull it back a bit, just pull it back. Or no, I need a little bit more help here. I need you to be a little bit more. It's very jarring if it's a very fast scene and a very dynamic, dramatic dance, and the voice is just like that. It doesn't tell the right story. It doesn't tell the right story. You need to have that story told. So you're telling the story with your voice, you're telling your story with your delivery, you're telling the story with describing what they are doing, and importantly, how they are doing it. So if that means using the right kind of language, your use of language is the biggest tool that you have. So you will use the right word. So if somebody sticks out a foot, how quickly do they do it? Does it come very slowly, or does it come? Does the foot sort of flip out, zoom out, jab out, or does it flow out? When we were listening to the cellist yesterday, you heard about a lunge, which is a sort of a long word. So he lunges towards her. But if you said he dives towards her, it's a much quicker word. And you will have that in Chinese to be able to do it. I don't know if I heard, but I didn't notice you talking about the backdrop. Mandy, is that what you got?
That's what I was going to say. Did you mention? I wasn't sure in the because of the sound.
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Yes, good. Did.
Yeah. Before the pre-show notes, I described the white curtain at the back is the size the same size like the stage, and then in the story I do except the first turn to the blue lights before the dance. I did lights up, blackout, and the background changed to the school pictures.
Right. I didn't hear that. Now that I don't know. Andrew may have said it, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't pay attention to it. So if you remember what we were saying with the event, Mandy, but if you remember what we were said about, sometimes you will say something and a blind person say, "Oh, you didn't tell me anything about this," and you go, "Yes, I did, but I didn't do it hard enough. So you obviously didn't pay attention to it." So I think if you're going to tell them about the rows of children, try to find a place where it's before you, just where you can isolate it a bit, so you can punch it hard a little bit, so that they're not listening to description of this dance. Oh, there's people at the back. Description of dance. So it's description of dance. There's an image at the back. Description of dance. So there's a little bit of a pause so they can take that in and get that information in. To say, I'm sure Andrew must have said it, but because it came in a lot of other information, I didn't quite get it. Okay, and you were the same, Andy?
Yeah, exactly the same. I just I wasn't sure.
You floated over it.
Yeah, and obviously there was, you know, technical hitches, so I didn't know if I lost it in the crossover somewhere.
Quite. Yes, technical hitches are our enemy. Okay, so I think I'm done. I have nothing more to say. I will obviously, as I will with everybody, I will make notes and anything that you think that I think that you might need to pay attention to before you go on to the next stage with Dee Dee. Because remember, this is not the end of it. This is the beginning, and it's the what you get next that is really going to consolidate everything. Just a thought about that ball. If it's a big ball, you can talk about it in terms of actually how big it is, but it's bigger than his head. Or you can say it's the size of a football or something, a ball that somebody might actually have a connection to, like a tennis ball or a marble, something that people would have an idea of what kind of size it was. But if you're talking about something that they're holding above their head, for example, it might be a good way that can do a connection. It's bigger than his head, or it's almost the same size as his head, so that they've got an idea, rather than say that your three heads later. I suddenly had three heads. You know, I suddenly get this image of three heads.
Like a monster, right?
Like a monster.
Associate with a monster.
Yes, that's right. So what I want is an image of one thing. And if it's a ball, you can talk in terms of dimensions. You know, there are times when something is big enough to hold in the hand, and there are some times when it's big enough to sit in. You know, and some, you know, and I wouldn't be able to get my arms around it, or I could hold it between my finger and thumb. So, you know, taking something back to somebody's body so they get an idea of what it is, what it's like, rather than saying it's as big as 2 double beds or something like that. Because we're not it's like in the Swan Lake, we talk about the stepping stones. They were talking about the stepping stones when they were going downstairs, when the men were forming a stairway for him to go downstairs. And they're in a house, so it's a stairway. If you're in a river, by a river, then stepping stones are fine. If you are in the middle of a wood, then don't bring double beds into it, because it's just not appropriate. Think in terms of something that is, you know, if you held their arms out to the side, it would be that big. Right. Are there any questions that anybody wants to ask of Dee Dee, perhaps? To think about? Yeah, Dee Dee.
Yeah, I would like to share. And sorry, I can't open the camera.
That's okay.
I may need Angel to help me to translate.
Yes. Sure. Yes, I'm here.
I would like to ask, because I don't know how to say 自尊 and 公尊.
Oh,
I fear that Karen used 自尊 in Chinese, but 之前咧，我哋有同視障人士去對稿嗰陣時咧，就曾經俾佢哋笑嘅。佢就話：咦，咁你自轉，咁係咪即係有公轉啊？咁樣。
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're talking about you know they're talking about when they describe. Yeah.
Are they talking about when they're describing in the theatre when they go live?
Oh. Yes. No. They're talking about that. Yeah. They're talking about in English. They're talking about.
Should I go in if they're talking in English?
Okay. Yeah. They're talking about, you know, no, 因為我要聽你講完，我先至知道你講乜嘢，我先至可以譯啊嘛。係。Yeah. So they're talking about, you know, Dee Dee is talking about, you know. 咁，但我又要你聽你講嘢。
向醜小鴨嘅。咁
Dee Dee你要停一停，咁你講咁快 translate 係譯唔切㗎。你俾佢譯咗 試咧，
之前嗰啲先。
係啦，俾佢譯咗之前嗰啲，又停一停，再繼續譯。好。
You know, when they but it's more a Chinese, you know, wording problem. Is that they're talking about, you know, in Chinese, when they talk about the turning of the ugly duckling, is the same verb they use in cosmology for a planet.
An orbit.
Yes, and no, not orbit, but just to evolve itself. It's like the moon. Oh no, the moon is not doing this, but like the Earth is both rotating, self-rotating, and then you know rotating around the sun. So you know, okay, no, this has nothing to do with English, but in Chinese, when you say something is self-rotating, then the blind people will say, well, if it is self-rotating, would it rotate around a bigger, you know, like rotating around the sun or something? No, it's basically like a Chinese language problem. It has nothing to do. It really has nothing to do with English, actually. Yeah. So
well, that's
it's
great
a little
to
bit
hear.
funny, but then the blind people, because it's very funny that when you talk about a dancer doing self-rotation, the only verb to use in Chinese is the same verb as saying a planet doing a rotation while it is also rotating around a bigger object.
Right.
That's the same verb. I mean, that's their point. Yeah.
Okay. There are times, sometimes, when you can use sounds to represent words. Onomatopoeia, English and Greek, and we might say something like clunk, and with the rotation, you might use something like she turns, and you get an idea then of coming out and going back in, coming out and going back in. That might be a way round for you. There is a not really a describer, but an artist in the UK who teaches how to describe dance, and he usually uses it for bebop, but he talks about describing dance through sounds. And I think there are times when you can mix those together. You can mix the two things together. And you can use words, little, almost like nonsense words for fight. So you could go biff, baff, bosh, you know. So you can use that kind of sound. He biffs him on the nose, he bashes him. And you can use those kind of sounds to give an idea of the energy of the performance. But I can't help you with the Chinese language parts of it, obviously. I can only say what you're trying to achieve. And what you're trying to achieve is to get an idea that this person is circling and circling and circling. Is there a Chinese word for circle that means verb? It's a verb?
Yeah, we got we have that kind of words in Chinese.
Fine. Right, I think that's very helpful. Yeah, I think that is a big discussion that you're going to have about the language that you use. And I think that is probably the next thing that will be on your agenda, really, to talk about how you're going to represent movement through language. When some of the movements that they use for dance may not actually have a word for them. They may not actually have a word for them. So how are you going to represent this? Don't forget you've got your workshop. And when we all get back together, you'll have your workshop. And if you want the blind audience to get an idea, they may be able to touch the bodies. I was just thinking about the ugly duckling, because she has her hands out. And I was wondering when people actually, they say that she goes round, but she sort of spreads her arms out and goes round. And if you get somebody to actually spread their arms out or think about spreading their arms out and turning, then maybe that will help them to think about how they would turn round. I mean, if you were in a shop and somebody called you from behind, you'd turn round. And it's just a more dramatic version of that. So you're about to pay for your lunch and somebody calls you and you turn round. So there must be, the concept is there, that you are in one place and now you're facing the other direction. And what you need to find is a way of almost making that poetic. And that Dorothy will be able to help you with. And you will come up with things yourselves. But I can see that it will be a challenge. It will be a challenge. Right, while we're thinking about that, I'm going to show you, can I share my screen, please, Vivian?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
A few episodes ago, I showed you some photos, some paintings, you remember? And the paintings were modern art paintings. And I said, what kind of movements would we use for those? Well, I'm now going to show you the film. It's about 6 minutes, a film, and it's for artists with learning disabilities. And they were shown the paintings, and then they were asked to create their own movement based on that. And they talk about, for a moment, just a few seconds, about what the paintings mean to them and how it inspired them. But I think it's quite an interesting thing to look at when we're talking about finding the language.
This picture is telling an urgent message. You can see the boat is sinking due to massive sea levels of climate change and the global warming. It reminds me about what's happening to our planet Earth. It has to stop.
It's got mixture of colors. I can see some circles. Some of the shapes remind of dancing. It makes me feel flexible of my body.
Well, I like the shape. I like the background. It's brighter, got a merged colour to it. It can make me feel good and it makes me feel outstanding.
It reminds me of a unusual, twisted fairy tale called A Midsummer's Night Dream. There's lots going on, but they're very still. Each of them have a really strong purpose. Every detail, every pose, they're trying to tell you a little story.
I really like that film. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to send you the link to that film. And when we come back on Tuesday, I'd just like you to have thought about some words that you can use to describe the movements in that film, the movements of the bodies. And I'd like you to think in Chinese and in English, Mandy, but in Chinese for those people who Chinese is their first language, just so that they can perhaps share them with Dee Dee. And we can start a conversation about how you can use the language. So there were just 4 pieces there, and you had that little section at the beginning when they were saying what the painting meant to them. So I'm going to send you the link. So I'll send Vivian the link so that she can send it out. And just think about the language that you would use to describe how those 4 people are moving, the main thing that characterizes their movement. That film was taken at my favourite art museum in London. It's the Tate Britain, and they are all British artists. All of those are British artists. It's not particularly that I like them because they're British, but I like them because it's a very beautiful space, glorious space, and they are so well displayed, and they tell of sort of history all the way through. There are some very early paintings. Some of my favourite paintings are in that gallery. When you come over, I'll take you around.
Very much looking forward to these days that we can travel to Yes, we look forward to these days that we can travel to London and then you can take us to Tate.
I'll take you to Tate. I'll take you to Tate. And we'll do a whole section about describing paintings, which would be absolutely lovely. Okay, so Nature, are you okay? You're going to send me the script before you chopped everything away, so I can have a look. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Karen, are you okay? Anything that you want from what you've done?
Can I have your notes from you?
I'll send you the notes. I'll send you the notes. I'm waiting until I've seen everybody, because clearly those of you who are doing it later are learning as you go along. And you know, those people who began, the brave ones who came first, they have taught you on the way. Yes, quite. You know, anybody who was in that first bit, you've kind of shown the ground for people on the way, and people will have been picking up from each other and from what you have been saying to each other and from what I've been feeding back. So I'm not going to say I expect the next ones to be brilliant, but I expect because you will have your own way of dealing with things. But we hope that you've picked up some of the advice that you've been given by each other on the way. Lena, anything that you want me for before Tuesday?
No, I just want to remind those who cannot attend the Zoom class, the Zoom exam on Tuesday as an observer. Do submit your assignment that Ross just assigned for the description, the description in Chinese about dance movement relating to that video dancing to arts.
Thank you. And I will send it through to you immediately after we finish, Vivian, so you can send it out to everybody. So they've got a bit of time. It's not a very long one, but I think it's quite a good exercise to get you thinking about your language. Andrew, thank you, as ever.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right, then I will say goodbye, and I will leave you to your evening, the rest of your evening. And relax. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.